Excellent. Okay,
Yeah,
take it away, Vivek.
I think it's recording now. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Vivek Khanzade, and I'm going to present 5 photos from my trip to Colombia last year with my wife. This was just the two of us. We hired a guide in Colombia, and there was a special place in Caldas, in the department of Caldas, that he took us, where we saw these mannequins. And of the 5 mannequins that I'm going to show, all my 5 photos are all mannequins. These are very special birds. For um, those who have looked for them in tropical forests will know that these are extremely hard to see, let alone photograph. So I was in some ways very fortunate, and my guide also was extremely good at spotting them and quickly telling me where they landed for a few minutes until I pointed my lens at them. So the first one is all of these except for the golden headed, I think golden collared, sorry, are were lifers for me. So the first one is white bib mannequin. This is again from Colombia. Um, tiny bird, extremely special because, and I started off with this one because this one was the hardest to photograph. If you see, it is also shows pixelation. That's because it's a very small crop, and this is photographed in fairly dark conditions, understory, and all of that, recovered mostly in post. So that's the first one, white bib mannequin. Next, please. This is a new mannequin. This was split, I believe, relatively recently in the less than 5 years, I think. And it's a velvety mannequin. There is also a very similar looking blue cat mannequin, but this again landed on this straw for a few minutes, and this one actually stayed there. It was shot through some leaves and stuff like that, but it was fairly cooperative mannequin. Hope you like the beautiful colors. These are stunningly beautiful birds, and they make a very interesting sound with their feathers. They rub their feathers together to make a sound, and that attracts their mates. Most of these mannequins, the females are green in color, so extremely hard to even spot in the forest. The males are relatively easier, and everything that I'm showing here today, they're all males. Okay. Um, Next. This is the golden headed mannequin. And as you can see, there is, the camera picked up the right focus, but it is shot through leaves. So you can see greenish wash, if you would, on the body, especially lower body of the bird. And again, this is from that special place where our guide Fernay took us for photographing these birds. Beautiful little bird. The female is basically green in color, so you can imagine a green fluff ball with that background is virtually impossible to see. Next one. This is a striolated mannequin, male, and I wish it came down. It was shot almost at like 70, 75 degrees angle, fairly vertical, if you would. And the striolations are all these strips of white on the neck and the breast of this bird, and they go all the way down to the belly. This is the male, has beautiful red head. Again, the female is basically has striations, but it's greenish olive. So again, quite hard to see. We did see the female of this bird just because they were close. So again, one of the photos that I was happy with. And then the last one. This is again shot through the leaves. As you can see near the feet, you can see the green wash. This is a golden collared mannequin, and those of you that have been to Colombia would recognize this setup. This is not a setup. This place. It's Tinamu Lodge. and these Tinamou Lodge has a lek of these birds. So we saw 4 or 5 of these, but they're extremely hard to photograph. Number one, because they're in the understory, and number two, because they're flitting around on these little branches, trying to impress the females. And if they do see a female, then they will stay in one place for a little bit to allow you to photograph. Not my best shots, but nevertheless, I'm just happy to get these photos of these mannequins.
Oh,
And so I wanted to
fantastic.
share the bounty of the nature with you guys. Thank you. That's it.
These are fantastic, Vivek. I don't know if there's absolutely no need to complain about the shots you have.
Thank you.
Excellent. And good luck with your next meeting, okay?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. I'll silently drop off in the background in a few minutes.
No worries at all. Yeah.
Thank you for accommodating me. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think the next is Juliana. Thank you for allowing us to switch the order.
Okay, let me start. I'm going to present about a trip. No, don't go back.
Do you go back?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
My trip to Iceland in May of 2024. Before I decided on Iceland, I was thinking about going to Maine just to see Atlantic puffins and razorbills. Well, what I found is that from San Francisco to go to Bangor, Maine, the connections are very poor. And in addition to that, to see the razorbills, you have to go out on the water. And I don't do very well on ocean trips. So my next plan was, well, let me try with Iceland. And I asked Google, what is a good place in Iceland to see Atlantic puffins and razorbills? And Google sent me to the Latrabjarg bird list. So I started planning my trip against that location. So that's what I'm going to start with, the Latrabjarg bird list. So now you can show the first picture.
Excellent.
Okay, so it turns out it is the westernmost point of Iceland and therefore of Europe. From the hotel where I stayed, which was only about 8 miles from this cliff, I was told that the best time to go to see the birds is between 8 and 10 p.m. Well, I assume between 8 and 10 p.m. is June, July, and so on. And I was there in May. So I went a little bit early. And I wasn't disappointed. The first birds I saw were like feet from where I parked the car. And this is one example. It's a close-up of an Atlantic puffin. And the next one is an Atlantic puffin, a little more active. So this I saw as soon as I got there. Next in line was the razorbill. And it just required a couple minutes walk up the hill, and here were the razorbills. And I got quite a few photographs. I chose this one because it shows very well its bill and everything else you need to know about razorbills. Plus, it's quite well camouflaged, as you can see, against the rocks. But I finished with or at least I got enough photos of the puffins and the razorbill within 10 minutes. So then I decided to walk up the hill to investigate this bird cliff. So going next photo, okay. So going uphill, I found a lot more birds. This is an example of a black-legged kittiwake and a thick-billed burr trying to nest side by side. The most numerous birds were actually common murres, but I don't show them in my presentation because there are other things to show. So one more photograph next of the cliff area, and this is northern fulmar, and I thought I got pretty close to it, so I was pretty happy about it. In addition to the cliff birds, a very nice surprise was the birds I could see from my hotel room. So my hotel room opened up, the windows opened up on a vast grass field. So I have just a couple of photographs of birds that I could see from my hotel window. There was a very good variety, but not huge numbers of birds. So next, this is a Eurasian golden plover. And that was seen either from the window or I just went down and took the photograph outside the hotel room. This is one of the birds that breeds in Iceland itself. And next, this is a common redshank in breeding plumage. This again is a bird that breeds in Iceland. And I had seen redshanks before just in Africa, and they don't look at all like what they look in breeding plumage, of course. The next area was a very little town where I went to pick up my flight for my next destination. Well, that never happened because there was a huge storm and domestic flights don't operate during storms. So all flights that day were canceled. My little airline didn't have a flight the following day. So I was stuck at this place for 2 full days or parts of 3 different days. However, at the entrance, the place is called Bildudalur. So at the entrance to the town, there is a very nice fjord, and there were lots and lots of birds to look at. So I chose two images from that location. And this is a common ringed plover, not to be confused with the little ringed plover, which is more common than the common one. So what attracted me to this is that the bird is in a hyperbreeding state. And if you can see the top of its head, the hair is standing up. So this little bird proceeded to go through several minutes of a display of how well he can protect the nest. And at some point, I think he had a spectator, but the spectator didn't seem very impressed with him. Next. So the other image I want to show from this location is a combination of a common eider on the left and an Icelandic subspecies of red knot. So it turns out that there were, I don't know, a few hundred common eiders nesting around this fjord. And unfortunately, the person I was dealing with regarding flights and so on, and he rented me the car too, didn't tell me in time that he actually did night duty to protect the eider ducks, because there are 9, or there were last year 9 foxes in the area. And they steal the eggs of the nesting birds. So I missed that show. As far as the red knot goes, I had a very good show of them. And as I said, it's one of the subspecies. It looks a little bit more brick color rather than red compared to what I see here at the Foster City Shell Bar. So there were many other species of birds, but the presentation is short. So I think the last photo coming up is actually from the capital, Reykjavik. And this is a European shag, and it was drying its feathers on the seaside of Reykjavik. And I like this because it has the head and neck breeding feathers. So this completes my presentation.
Wonderful shots, Juliana. Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. Leah.
The video.
Are you on the call?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Uh-huh.
All right.
These were all taken in East Palo Alto at Ravenswood. And I just happened to see them, and that was the most birds I'd ever seen in one place. It was really something. And in this picture, okay, you can go to the next one.
Next one.
Next. Uh-huh. Oops, this is all out of order. Okay, yeah, that one shows kind of at a distance. And you can see if you follow all the birds, if you go on the very far shore, closer to where the fences are, there's more birds there. It was just amazing. I have never seen that many birds in one place before. And it's in East Palo Alto, and I just happened on it. And I don't know, maybe other people have seen them before in the huge flocks, but they were all interested. I think what had happened was that there had been high water, and then the high water retreated, leaving in the mud something which I never did find out what it was. But it was something that was in the mud about an inch in the first inch or so. And all of these birds were coming in and eating the things that were in the mud. Okay, next. And it was kind of interesting because the birds were flying in flocks. They arrived in flocks of various kinds. So maybe one flock of, well, there were, for example, there were dunlins, there were dowitchers, there were sandpipers, there were marbled godwits, and there were flocks that would arrive making a terrible noise, a lot, you know, they were very interested in what was in the mud. And then they would settle down and feed in the mud. And they would, okay, next photograph. Here you can see they are very close to each other in some places, inches away from each other. Has anybody else seen this kind of this many in one place? I've never seen this before, but it was very interesting. And I never did figure out what it could be. It maybe was fish eggs, or it might have been some kind of insect that was in the mud, or something that was out in the bay and then had washed in and settled. And I don't know how the birds communicated that there was this here. That to me is a big question. How do they know? How did these different flocks of birds were flying in? They knew it was there. How did they know? I mean, how did they communicate? Because it came from different places, I assume. Anyway, it was kind of interesting to see this at in East Palo Alto. Okay, next. Oh, these photographs I took on Laguna Avenue, and it's a long straight avenue with a telephone pole, and the predators like to get on the telephone pole. And here is a kite, a whitetail kite, and you can see he's just eaten something. You can see a little meat or something hanging off of his chest. And what he's doing, and he did this for a long time, about, oh, probably minutes, he would just flick his tail. And I had never seen a predator flick his tail before. I'd seen little birds walk along and flick their tails, but I wondered why he was doing that. Was he just excited because he just had a nice meal? Or was he maybe signaling? Because the next day, somebody reported they had seen 24 whitetail kites at Coyote Valley, which is about a mile away from Laguna Avenue. And so I was wondering, could he have just been signaling with his tail? Hey, there's a lot of food here. Okay, next. Oh, this is really out of order.
Was this one
Yeah,
the next one?
Yeah, that's the next one. And this is the same telephone pole on a different day. And you can see what they're getting. They're getting moles and voles. And they're sitting on the telephone pole and watching. So this is an American kestrel that's got a vole. Okay, next.
I think this is the.
It's going back. It's not, that's not the next one.
No.
No. Okay, well, I'll just go ahead and whatever. This is a picture I took of two mallards having an argument. And then one mallard came flying in, and the other one, he eventually left. I mean, he did leave pretty quickly. And I thought it was kind of interesting. They're using their beaks as weapons. Okay, next. Oh, and this is back to the Laguna Avenue. These are all out of order. Anyway.
Yeah, you can send me it in alphanumerical like the others do, because this I just dragged from the Gmail that you sent, so they probably just get mixed up.
Okay, sorry. Well, this is again in Laguna Avenue, and it's a kestrel sitting on the telephone wire. And what was interesting was the little birds on Laguna Avenue. There's a lot of little birds in the brush and the flowers and the seeds close to the road. But the little bird actually flew and sat next to the kestrel. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. Okay, next. And here's the same white-tailed kite with the food that's on his chest. And there's a starling that came and sat next to him, and normally little birds don't sit next to predators. So wasn't sure why they did this and how. I think they sort of know that the predators, what they're after is the big things like the voles and the mice. I think they somehow sense that, and they say, "Well, it's okay. I can go up next to him. He's not a threat to me." Okay, next.
I think this might be the last one.
Oh, and this is another argument. And it's interesting because in this one, it's sparrows, and notice that they're using their feet. And really, if that attack had succeeded, he could have done a lot of damage to the other sparrow's chest. I mean, they're using their feet to fight. And actually, I have another picture of the same two birds where the one that's on the bottom has flown away and he's attacking the other one. So they do, and that sort of is a contrast to the two mallards that were having an argument. Well, mallards, they have webbed feet, so they couldn't very well attack using their claws, but it just shows you use what you have. Okay, that's all.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have Bob.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello.
Hello. I'm going to show you some pictures from a trip to Northern Colombia that we took in February. I went with Obi, who is on the group here tonight, and also Peter Havalishin, who's been on this group before. And I think we had Danielle Uribe give a talk about Colombian birds a while back. So it was actually a group of about 5 of us, and we were in the very northern part of Colombia, and we started in Barranquilla, and then we went up to Santa Marta on the kind of the normal route that people go up from the west side. And then we went up the coast and right up against Venezuela, worked our way around to the other side of Santa Marta, the mountain. And we were chasing a hummingbird. If you travel with Peter Havalishin, you're always chasing a hummingbird. And this was a rare hummingbird that had been refound. And we managed to find it. And then we went back almost right up against Venezuela to the Parija Mountains. And so if you can give me the first slide, we'll go through what we were doing. This is a little group of white-winged swallows right along the coast near Barranquilla. And they're young ones, and they were sticking very close together and going back and forth to this post, and I just thought they were cute. Next one. I have kind of a fondness for these phanerids. This is a pale-breasted spine-tail, and it stayed for quite a while down in the bush and then popped up, and we got a picture. We were headed then for Santa Marta, and the next slide shows one of the Santa Marta birds that's pretty hard to get a picture of. It's called the Santa Marta warbler. And again, it was down in the brush and then popped up for a moment and let us snap a picture. The next slide. We had a local guide with us on a good part of the trip. And he had set up a feeding station on top of these cactus. And so you can barely see there's some seeds put into an indentation in the cactus. And these vermilion cardinals would come, and also other birds would come to feed on it. And it was kind of almost cheating to take pictures there. It was quite nice. Next slide. Also in this same area, there were a number of other birds, and of course the local guy knew where all the nests and everything were. This is a chestnut piculet, the tiniest of woodpeckers, and well, and it was nesting. The next slide is a saltator, the Orinoco saltator. That was a lifer for me. And these were all hanging around in this area where the cactus feeders were. The next slide shows the target hummingbird that we were after. This is the Santa Marta saberwing, and was feeding on a banana plant there. This is also the day that I took my first ever in my entire life horseback ride to get to this bird, and I survived that. So we were pretty excited to be able to see this one. It was thought to be extinct, and then it was refound, and it's actually there are quite a few of them apparently on the east side of the Santa Marta mountain. So then we went to the Paria Mountains, and the next slide, and this is Longmare's sun angel. It's a photo lifer for me, and there were several of these birds, and we could sit and watch them come into a feeder. So again, it was shooting fish in a barrel, kind of. And coming to the feeder area was the next bird, a black-fronted wood quail. I've seen them before, but not this nicely. So it was nice to see this. And the last slide is a very tiny little rufous-crested tyrant flycatcher. So that's it, Columbia.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. All right. Stega,
Hi, I'm Elsie.
Healthy.
Hi. So you can go to the first slide. It's okay. So if you have seen the BABP presentation, which I gave in January, you know that I like to go to the Cayman Sister Islands. And in February, I was on Little Cayman, which is the smallest and least developed. And during that time, I captured this image of a red-footed booby from the fly deck of one of the moving dive boats. He was accompanying the boat in the hope that the wake would kick up some flying fish. You can go to the next one. And this lovely little baby booby, it's also a red-footed booby. It was nesting season, and this bird obviously is in a nest. And it was in a tree along the booby pond. The booby pond is it's a designated important bird area, which in addition to the boobies that nest there, it supports birds like the West Indian whistling ducks, huge colony of frigates, and lots of other species. Oh, and I'm super stoked because if all goes to plan, I'm due to close on a house on the north shore of Little next Friday. So it's very exciting. And that means I'll be able to head there more often for shorter stays, and especially during the spring and fall migrations, because the Cayman Islands are this big migratory hotspot, because there's basically nothing if a bird's coming from the Yucatan and the east side of South America, there's nothing between them and Cuba except these islands. So this little booby, so cute. There weren't actually many. The season had just started up. But now you can go to the next slide, please. The rest of the images were all taken here at our ranch. These birds are all part of our everyday world. If you've seen my January presentation, you know that our ranch is a hotspot for wildlife in the San Jose foothills because we've worked very hard to restore native habitats. This wee gold-crowned sparrow, he wintered here along with about, 2 or 3 dozen others. It was very busy sparrow season this year. You can go to the next slide, and we get to see this white-crowned sparrow. And sure, they're not as sexy as the yellow-breasted chat that showed up outside my window yesterday, but they're so amusing. This was, once again, we had several dozen of these here wintering. And as of Monday night, I still had 2 white-crowned sparrows, but sometime in Tuesday, they left and went north. So you can go to the next one. We also have a white-throated sparrow in residence. And if I had just waited a couple days to sort through my pictures for tonight, I could have included a shot of all 3 sparrows, white crowned, gold crowned, white-throated, all in this bird bath having a good old time. But oh well, can't have everything. Next, please. Oh, and those pictures plus pictures of the yellow-breasted chat will eventually be posted on my ranch wildlife site, stega.org. But we also had this lovely, I know it's just a house finch, but he was orange.
Beautiful.
We never had an orange morph. And he was really easy to spot whenever he was out with the flock. It was pretty cool. Next slide, please. And this is one of our resident scrub jays. Now, usually during the winter months, we only have scrubs up near the house. Our resident stellars prefer to hang up by our well tank, which is about a quarter mile from the house. It's also like 120 feet higher. So, but in the last couple of weeks, the stellars have come down and they're starting to spar with the scrubs because the garden outside my office is like the prime territory for raising young. Next, please. This is another year-round resident. Our garden bird, it's a thrasher, California thrasher. This one was bathing and having a good old time. And we just started seeing baby thrashers, fledglings have started to appear. So they got started very early this year. And that can't be said for some of our other birds, like our bluebirds and our swallows. They're just starting to make use of the nest boxes. Although I'm super stoked because we just found out we have a single barn owl nestling in our barn owl box. And that's a first. Yeah, I bought the box from Lisa's store, Los Gatos Birdwatcher, and we put it up like 3 years ago and nothing except lots and lots of owl pellets. But now we actually have a hatchling, so we're super stoked. The other fun thing is we have a condor sculpture. It's made of steel. It's out at our main gate, and some house wrens have colonized the belly of it and built a nest. So that's pretty cool. We check on them using a borescope. And actually, I post that kind of stuff to like Instagram and whatnot. Anyway, where are we? Next, please. Like I said, we have quail. I think I've said it. We have quail. We have herds, like large, not quite as much as the early presenter with the plovers, but we have herds of quail. But they haven't started breeding yet. They're still in the pairing off. Usually around June, we start seeing the little puff balls. They're like golf ball sized little hatchlings start showing up.
Oh.
Next, please. And oh, yeah. Okay. And so if you saw my presentation in January, I talked about using the haiku boxes and the bird weather pucks to have a sense of what new birds were in the area. And I had a picture of a Cooper's hawk that had taken out a sapsucker. This is that same hawk. And this was taken last month. It has matured. It's no longer in its juvenile plumage. And it has learned very well how to run doves into the windows of my office. Now, we do treat our windows to prevent like a normal bird strike, but we can't fix against this. And in fact, since this picture was taken, there have been 4 more fatalities of doves. But they're doves, so, you know, it's kind of sad, but kind of not. And I think, is that the last one?
Yeah, that is the last one.
Okay, so that pretty much covers it. Some of our common visitors, hopefully next time I'll have pics of the baby quail. Plus, I am so excited to explore the gardens and shoreline of the house on Little Cayman because, I mean, there's like 3 resident sister island rock iguanas who live in the bush around the area. So it's going to be so cool.
That's awesome. Looking forward to seeing more pictures now.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I will mute now.
Thank you. Thank you. Steve.
Hi, thank you, Sri. So
Hi,
we can
Steve.
jump to the first photo.
Yep.
So all these photos are taken at Enza Borrego Desert State Park. it's a huge swath of desert northeast of San Diego, sort of toward Salton Sea. So I've got some family in Southern California, so occasionally I would just visit family and then do a short trip out to Anza Borrego. So yeah, it's a favorite spot to see desert birds that we don't normally see in the Bay Area. And so one of the target birds whenever I go there is a phainopepla, as shown here. Um, this is the male, and the female, as you probably know, is gray with that beady red eye also. Next. And this is a Costas hummingbird. It's pretty much the only hummingbird well, it's the predominant hummingbird there. Occasionally you see ananas. Uh, but yeah, so the Ocotillo are very popular with the hummingbirds and other birds there. But they make a really nice setting. That's a what is that tree in the background? I forgot, but there's a uh, I forgot Palo Verde. Yeah, that's right. There's a Palo Verde tree in the background that was blooming, so that's what the yellow background is.
Mm.
Okay, next. Okay, oh, here's another Costas hummingbird showing the gorget a little better than the previous photo. Next. And yeah, so one year when I was there, the agave was blooming. You don't see that too often. They don't bloom very often, and then it just disappears. Um, but this one was in full bloom or almost in full bloom, and so it was attracting various birds. This one just has a plain old house finch on it, but it captures the setting.
So pretty.
Next. And the ever-present cactus wren. This is an ocotillo we saw earlier, but this is on the stem, and it's just starting to put out leaves, and it always has those barbs. But for some reason, the cactus wren don't mind at all. In fact, the cactus wren nest in the cholla cactus, right in the heart of it. They just build a nest right in between the various branches. So they're pretty hardy bird in that respect. Next. And this is a verdin. Cute little bird.
Yeah.
And I think we have one in the next shot too. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's a verdin one year that was building a nest. Again, in the cholla cactus. Somehow they could do that. So yeah, he was busy collecting twigs. I couldn't follow him because this was the morning I had to leave, but he was real busy.
Beautiful.
Next. What else we got? Oh yeah, and here's a hooded oriole. They get Scott's oriole out there also, but I don't have any good shots of that bird. And then here's again on an ocotillo, the ever-present ocotillo. Next. Okay, oh, this is one I just got a few days ago. This is a black-tailed gnatcatcher. The blue-gray gnatcatcher shows up there, but it's less common than the black-tailed. So it's a desert bird, but in the right habitat you can find them, especially in the springtime when they're singing. Next, if we have any more. Oh yeah, and a roadrunner. This guy's got some food that he's carrying. I'm not sure where he's going with it. Maybe to feed some young, I really don't know. But he was in a hurry. And I think that's all.
That was it. Yeah. Beautiful
Okay.
shot, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Sri.
All right, Kurt.
Yeah, nice set of southwestern birds there. I was just in Arizona and got a lot of those same birds, but I guess I could have just gone to California. It sounds like I got a lot of those. But we moved to Half Moon Bay at the beginning of February, and I live right across the street from Wavecrest Open Space. And so I've been going out to open space quite a bit. I take my dog out there. I usually go with him and a camera and see what I can find. So all these photos are from my explorations in Wavecrest here for the last couple of months. So go ahead. So this was basically the first bird picture I took in Wavecrest. It's a white-crowned sparrow, of course, and it was interesting hearing Elsie talk about her white crown. She said that they're pretty much gone, but here in Wavecrest, I was out today and I counted over 20 of them. So they're really plentiful around here, and they're, I would say, the most common bird we have here, and they're very approachable. I mean, I could reach out and touch one almost today. They're very, very friendly. Go ahead and see the next one. When I got here in February, I started noticing these kestrels, and I would see the kestrels pretty much every time I came out, and I would say I saw as many as four at a time. And I noticed, I did a little research. I saw somebody from, I think, who was it? The Golden Gate Bird Alliance had a raptor class here at Wavecrest in February, and they claimed to have seen seven. So they were pretty common. They've disappeared now. I think the last one I saw was right at the beginning of April. But they were fun birds to get to see and to try and photograph. So go to the next one. This was the only time I found a kestrel with prey, and so he'd caught this vole, and I started to approach it to get a picture, and I was kind of working my way around and wanted to get it without that bush right behind the bird. But he got a little tired of me moving around out there, and so he decided to fly off. So this was the last picture I got of the bird and his prey. But that was the only one that I saw that actually had prey in all the kestrels that I saw. Go to the next. The white-shouldered, or I mean, red-shouldered hawk, and those are pretty common here. They're still here. I think they're year-round birds here, but I would see often two, or at least hear them, two or three on a visit now. I'm kind of lucky if I hear or see one, but they're pretty birds. Go to the next. We've had a few different kind of sparrows. This is a savanna sparrow, and I probably saw about five out there today, maybe seven. So they're still pretty plentiful, still singing. Next. And then this is a Lincoln sparrow, and they're not common here at all. I've seen a couple. I've probably only two, and it might have been the same bird. So managed to get a decent shot of this guy. And then go to the next one. Beginning in March, then we had some new birds showing up. And so this is an American goldfinch, and I used to live in Saratoga, and we didn't get American goldfinches in the areas that I frequented. And so I wasn't really familiar with their sound, but I noticed that Merlin started claiming it was hearing American goldfinches. And, I was kind of like, well, I don't know about that, so I'm not going to report that. But sure enough, like 3 or 4 days later, here I see an American goldfinch. So turns out Merlin was right. And I've had that experience with Merlin before, where Merlin is telling me it's hearing something, and I'm like, I can't confirm that myself, so I'm not going to report it. And then I find out a few days later, yeah, Merlin was right all along. So these American goldfinches are pretty plentiful around here right now. And I'm not sure how long they'll stay, but anyway, they're here. Go to the next one. Wilson's warblers started to arrive also in late March, and this was a pretty friendly one right on the trail to manage to get him singing. And they'll be here probably early June, I would say. Next slide. And then common yellow throats. This is a bird that I'd never really gotten a decent picture of elsewhere, but started hearing them here also, a March arrival. And I see them well, at least I hear them quite often, and sometimes I see them here too. They're still here. And I think I've got one more. This is a northern harrier that I photographed probably about a week or so ago. And I often see two of them here. And in fact, I saw one today, and sometimes they're pretty approachable. So I like this photo just because I felt like it was just showed this sort of regal bird, and they're big birds, and just very regal is the word that comes to my mind. So that's the reason I picked this photo. So that's my experience at Wavecrest.
Beautiful. Is this a morph with this kind of usually the darker, right? And brownish colored for the Harriers, or is this just a juvenile?
I don't know if anybody has any comment on that. I'd be interested in hearing it. I've seen two at the same time, and neither one, has been a gray ghost. So neither one was a male. Um, but beyond that, I mean, I don't know if you can tell their age from the appearance or what. So if anybody else knows, chime in.
Oh, the juveniles are pretty dark brown. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, Wavecrest is a beautiful park. I usually have gone there to see the barn owls and the great horned.
Yeah, I hear great horned owls from time to time. I haven't seen any barn owls, but yeah, hopefully I will.
Before sunrise, usually. That's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hear the great horns at night. Yeah.
Yep. Excellent place for raptors, actually. Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Obi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
So I'm following Bob. I'm glad I didn't pick the same birds he did. We traveled in Colombia in February, and it was a very nice trip for the photography in particular. So if you want to go to the first one, this is a pigeon that was really quite different than anything I'd seen in pigeons. And he perched himself up high, and we went on a walk around a marsh and saw a couple of these guys. And the eye is very distinctive, and the closer you get, the more clear it gets. That was fun to see. So next. And these are some parakeets brown-throated parakeet, and they were also on that same walk. We took a boat across the very shallow waters to get to this island. I guess later on it became clear it wasn't quite an island, but a peninsula connected to something else. But as the wind blew, our coming back, the guy pushed the boat along. It was so he could actually walk behind the boat, pushing it because the wind had gotten it so well. But so you can see the wind blowing on the birds a bit as well in this picture. Next. And as Bob was describing, I couldn't leave this one alone. This was quite a little adventure that I think people may have seen Peter's hummingbirds things, and I think one of the recordings is there if anybody wants to go look at the work he's done with hummingbirds. But in this case, he really did quite a bit of preparing and found that they had rediscovered this bird. And I really didn't think I was being able to go up and see this bird because it's hiking up a mountain after you already start at some altitude. But then they provided us with donkeys and horses. So in awkward ways, we got on the donkey, and as Bob said, he got on the horse for the first time. That was my first ride on a donkey. And we walked up the hill. There were two places where they expected we might find them. And before we got to the really steep part, we found this one. And I only got one picture of it facing, and it was eating in the back part of that banana plant. So I have a really nice picture of his tail from the same place. But that was kind of an interesting adventure, and a bird that's very rarely been seen because of where it is. And Peter got permission from the local native folks for us to go on their property and find it.
Wow.
Next. This is a steely vented hummingbird. I actually saw several of them. I enjoyed the fact that this guy had his tail spread out so you could see that as well. The hummingbirds really show their detail. It's really quite nice. Mm-hmm. And then that one is another hummingbird, I think. Yeah. That's one Bob was showing. This is one of the places like quote shooting in the barrel. It was a very nice spot where it was a hotel that we were supposed to be able to stay at. And they said they were full, but when we got there, it sounded more like they didn't want to hire a chef for us and open the place up. So one of their guides opened it up for us to be able to be there for a couple hours at the end of the afternoon one day. And there were several different birds there, but this one really caught my attention. And then they had the quail, dove quail was quite something too. The other thing is, and Aunt Peta showed up at the end of our time there, so it was a nice spot. But this guy's gorget is really something. Okay. Oh, I see. The rufous crowned toady flycatcher. Yep. And I don't remember exactly where it was we saw him, but they're really good looking little bird.
Really pretty.
And what? Yeah, that's a really pretty bird. I really enjoyed that one. Okay, one more I think from that trip. This guy is a Blackburnian warbler, which I've had pictures of before, but this is the best picture I've gotten of this bird. And I've tried. It was down a little bit lower, which made life a little easier. So I just got one of him, but I was really pleased with that. You can go to the next one. This is now after I got back home. I went for a walk, and this is in Pinole, and I think it must have had a nest nearby because it came back several times and flew in and flew out. But very colorful little western bluebird. And next one. So some friends in the camera club showed a picture of this bird a couple of years ago, and I got a chance to find out where it might be. And I went, it's not so far from home. It's in Kensington. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to watch the process since we knew where the nest was. I've been back 2 or 3 times and I don't see the bird, but I think it's there maybe sitting on the eggs, but you can't see because it's so high up and hidden in the rafters, so to speak. So I need to go back and see if I don't know, I haven't looked up exactly how long the gestation period is for the babies, but I would expect pretty soon if they're babies, they're going to get a chance to be seen. So I'm going to go back again. But that's the closest to home I've ever gotten a horned owl, so I was real pleased with that. And then there's one more. This is down at Half Moon Bay. I went with my grandkids to play around down there. As my daughter was on the airplane going to Heathrow or on to Spain when the Heathrow had its problem, and they turned around and flew right back home. So she wanted to find something to entertain the kids, and we went down to Half Moon Bay, and this guy popped right up in front of us, which was really nice. So little red-breasted mergander. So that's one taken a little bit more time-wise, closer to our meeting. The rest of the ones were a little earlier. Anyway, thanks.
Excellent shots, by the way.
Thank you.
Very cool. All right, Amanda.
Hello.
Hi.
So mine are mostly around home. I think I have one from a trip, but I tried to make them from mostly this year. So you can go ahead and go to the first one. This one, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen him, one of our favorite local visitors each year. This is Vermilion Flycatcher. He comes up to Grant Ranch County Park. And so I was lucky. He wasn't in the spot that most people were reporting on eBird. So I was kind of like wandering around, and I was there for at least a few hours and I could not find him. So I go back to my car and I sit in the back just to take a break and eat a snack. And guess who shows up right in front of me? This beautiful little guy. So I was happy to get to see him and take a few pictures of him. Go to the next one. This one is at Bear Creek Redwoods. I kept wanting to see cedar waxwings this year eating berries, and I just didn't come across them, but I found this handsome little American robin, and he was just snacking away on these berries, and I just thought he was really pretty in the lighting there. So Next one. Ring-billed gull. I don't actually remember where I took this picture, somewhere by the bay. Maybe it was Palo Alto Baylands or something like that. But I don't know. I think they're really pretty gulls. I like how their eye kind of pops, and the little ring around the bill makes them one of the more easy ones to actually tell what kind of gull it is. So yeah, I can go to the next one. This was at Ed Levin. This is a juvenile black crowned night heron. I saw him go into this tree, and he kind of disappeared into the tree, and I kept walking along the path and looked up and was like, I wonder where he went. And I just found this little window between all the leaves where he was just looking right at me. So I just snapped a quick picture, and I just like the expression on his little face. So you can go to the next one. This was at Santa Clara Valley Water, the headquarters building where there's that little pond behind there. I just was going to go birding there, and first few minutes I'm there, I wasn't even really ready with my camera yet or anything. This bald eagle, all of a sudden, all the ducks start making noises and going crazy and diving, and I like, what's going on? All the birds are just making all these crazy sounds, and I look, and this bald eagle starts swooping down on the pond. So the ducks were trying to get away from him, clearly. So I barely got a few pictures of him because I don't even know what shutter speed I had, but I wasn't even ready for this to be happening. And no one else was around. And I was just one of those moments where I was like, is anyone else seeing this right now? Like, there's a bald eagle just in the middle of the city of San Jose, just going after these ducks. And it was just a really cool moment. And I was like really happy that I was able to salvage a couple of the pictures from it. So yeah, you can go to the next one. This is at Calero, the famous grebes. I'm sure a lot of you guys have visited them. If you haven't, you should, because they're pretty awesome. They're one of my favorite things to go take pictures of. So their courtship ritual is running on the water. So I have a lot of pictures of them, but this one's one of my favorite ones because their heads are just like right next to each other and got the right angle with the splashing and everything. So yeah, I just love them a lot. They're just such goofy, fun birds to watch. And you can go to the next one. This was just recently, I was birding for one of the birdathon days. And this was up Wood Road Trail in Quicksilver. I didn't see much that day because it was one of those just random, really gloomy days. So everything was more heard than seen. But the wren tits were out there just going crazy and singing and gathering nesting material. And I barely have any pictures of them because they're just so like skulky in the bushes and everything. But this one came out right on top of this branch for just a couple seconds. And I just thought he was a really cool bird with his big tail in the air. You can go to the next one. And then this one is from a trip, not local. So we went to the Everglades a few months back, and this is just right on the side of the road, which was crazy. Like it was the most surprising bird of the whole trip. There was a bunch of other birds that I'd been looking on eBird and like wanting to go see. And we're just driving down the road, and there's people out of their cars on the side of the road looking at something and taking pictures of something. And I'm like, pull over, let's go see what that is. And there's this barred owl just right there, just posing for pictures for everybody. So yeah, that was my lifer for this guy for me. I've never seen one before. So that was like surprise of the trip. Very exciting. And I think, was that my last one? I think so.
Yeah, what a cool way to end a trip, right? Like seeing an unexpected bird.
Yeah, just
pretty neat.
Exciting, unexpected.
Beautiful pictures.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. John.
Hi, so I'm a new member of this group. I
Welcome.
just joined recently, and I've been a photographer for over 40 years. But just, after retiring last August or so, I started getting into birding and bird photography. So I'm still a beginning birder. I'm really pretty bad at spotting things and ID. I'm learning. But, since August, I've shot about 25,000 frames. So I'm not a complete beginner bird photographer anymore. So I just wanted to show you some of the things that, including some trips, some photos I got in this last 9 months or so. So go ahead.
Welcome to the group.
Thanks. So one of the things I did is I took a safari to Kenya in August, in January. And that was just a fantastic trip. And one of the amazing things is how good the spotters are at these game reserves and camps. And, if you tell them you're interested in birds, they will go out and look for birds. And these are Maasai, so they grow up around wild animals, but they also have extra training to be guides, and they're just really good at finding things. But one of the things I like about birding is you never know what you're going to see. And sometimes you only get a few seconds to see something and maybe get a photo. So that's challenging. So this is an example. These are tawny eagles mating. So tawny eagles are a really common raptor in Kenya, but to see them mating is not common. So this is the male swooping down on the female. And if we go to the next one, if they're in order, these are them actually mating. So I was pleased to get this photo, and it was just a matter of, spotting the birds, having the camera ready, and capturing that moment. So I saw 150 bird species in Kenya. So I'm just giving you, a couple examples here. These are some of the photos I liked. Next one. So I also went to Arizona just recently, and one of the places I went was Ramsey Canyon, which is one of the absolute top birding hotspots in Arizona. And I was walking through the reserve, and it's just full of birders as well as birds. So I'd see these people looking up in the tree, and I asked, well, what are you seeing? And they said, summer tanager. Well, these guys are so bright, I could follow it with my eyes once I knew where it was, but they like the high canopy and they're hopping around. So this may not be the best technical photo, but I was just really happy to get this bird photographed at all because it was distant, high up, and moving. And fun thing, just recently I was at Baylands, on the outskirts of Baylands, and I detected with Merlin a Western tanager. And because I'd had this experience, I knew where to look for it. It was going to be in the high canopy. So I looked up there and I got a photo of that also, which was a lifer for me. So I'm still learning things. Next one. This is at the Ramsey Canyon Inn, which is right next to the reserve. This is a black-chinned hummingbird. They have 13 species of hummingbirds in Arizona. And I heard someone saying at the reserve that they'd seen all 13 of them there. But this is one of the more common ones. The reason I like this photo is this is, I think, kind of characteristic of the species. They fly with the tail up like this. And just, being able to capture that pose, I enjoyed getting that photo. Next one. And this is also at the Ramsey Canyon Inn. They have all kinds of bird feeders. They have a bird bath. And this is a bridal titmouse. So he came and perched on the top of the bird feeder. And, I'd seen these up in the trees. I got some photos, but I just really liked, this pose and kind of the perky attitude he has here. So that was enjoyable, but this was not hard to get because the birds were coming to you. Next one. And one of the first places that I started going when I started practicing photography and going birding was Don Edwards in the South Bay. So there are two locations, one's in Fremont and one's in El Viso. So this is at El Viso, and I was actually walking back to my car. I was done for the day, and I spotted these goldfinches in the bushes. So these are common birds here. They're actually neighborhood birds where I live, but they're usually up in the trees. So being able to see them kind of out in the open and three of them, I thought that was a nice shot. Next one.
Okay.
And this is a northern harrier. This is from Arizona. There's a place called Kachina Wetlands, which is south of Flagstaff. And this is one of these artificial wetlands. It's a set of reclamation ponds. It's a very, very good burning area in Arizona. And the thing with these harriers is they like to fly low to the ground. They like to be like 6 feet off the ground, like this guy is. And I had actually taken a very similar photograph at Don Edwards. And, to get it, you have to be ready. You have to have the camera set. What I usually do when I see bird in flight is I just crank the shutter speed up with my thumb because, I've tried other areas like assigning a special button for birds in flight, but, nothing is as fast as the thumb on the wheel. So I cranked the shutter speed up and I got this shot, which I really like because of the way it's lit. It's just, it was pretty good out of the camera. This has been sharpened just a little bit for motion blur, but I just really like the lighting on this and the combination of the light background and the light bird. Next one, if there is one. And this was at Palo Alto Baylands. So I saw these two northern shovelers from some distance at the back of the duck pond. And I spent some time walking around the pond to get close to them and actually get this shot. These are quite common birds, but I usually see them in the water. And this pose of the pair together on one leg, I just liked the way they were sitting. So that was nice. Next one. And these are also, this is at Don Edwards. This is the Fremont location. I was walking toward the bridge, which is there on one of the trails, and I saw these barn swallows on a post. They weren't on the bridge, they were on a post on the side of the bridge, but they were backlit. So I said, well, these are pretty birds, but if they're backlit, I'm not going to get the colors in the photo. So I carefully walk around to the other side of them and I get the sun behind me. And then I was able to get this photo of barn swallow feeding her chicks. And if you can see the next one, those are the two chicks on the post. So again, it's always nice when you capture a little behavior, you don't just have a portrait. And I was pleased that they allowed me to walk behind them and get these fairly well lit photos. I think that might be the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, John. I think, and welcome to bird photography.
Thanks.
Now all your trips will be only around birds, anywhere you go in the world.
The Arizona trip pretty much was all around birds. So yeah, I'm doing that.
Mark. Hi. Is Mark on the call? Don't see him. Okay, maybe we skip and we come back to him if he's back in the call sometime. All right. Next is Leah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
And yes, I really wanted to show more than 10 tonight. I really, really did. Because so the last week of March, we attended a photo workshop in Costa Rica for a week. And the first couple of days we spent in the cloud forest in the Dodo region where we saw so many birds. Oh my gosh. Lots and lots of hummingbirds, which you will not see tonight. And it was really cold. Oh my gosh, it was so cold at night. We couldn't believe it. We could not believe that we were going to Costa Rica and having to take our puffy jackets because, she was like, it's going to be cold and it's going to be wet. And it was cold and wet. Imagine that. Then after that, we spent a couple days in the Sarapiquí region on the Caribbean side of the country. And we spent another couple days there and saw some amazing birds. We stayed at this amazing lodge. Oh, it was just beautiful. Where we saw all kinds of other things too. We didn't just see birds, okay? All kinds of iguanas and, poisonous frogs and all kinds of things. It was pretty great. And then we had one more day of travel, with many stops to see even more birds. So that was great. Our total was 115 different birds in 5 days. And I have pictures of 63 of them. Many of them are pretty good. And some are just for bird ID. It was like, hey, there. And it's like, take a picture. Oh, okay, well, that's not really good for the photo opportunities, but it's an identification. So you can imagine how hard it was just to pick 10. So yeah. So anyway, so here we go.
Maybe we get you back in January or next year to have a full presentation.
Well, I'm going to Brazil also in August. So
We'll wait.
so many pictures.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. And it's unfortunate. It's like my photography friend who tries to set up. We went on the workshop with her, but she's setting up this one for Brazil for the first time for her to go. And she was super excited about going, and then realized that she can't get the yellow fever shot because of a medical condition she has. So she's so
Oh, boy.
disappointed. So she can't go to Brazil, she can't go to Colombia, she can't do anything. She's just very disappointed. But that's okay. She loves Costa Rica and she's going to Tanzania. I'll go with her next year for Tanzania. So yeah, or maybe in 2 years for Tanzania. But anyway, all right, let's go. So, and you'll see rain in a lot of these because it was raining a lot. This is a long-tailed silky flycatcher that doesn't catch flies. It eats berries, but that's the name of it. I thought it was just such a beautiful bird. Kind of reminds me of the cardinals. And yeah, go ahead, next one. This is a very small bird. It's a slaty flower piercer. It has like this little hook on the end of its beak, on the top beak. Go ahead. Okay, I gotta look at this name. I should have remembered that I could actually say the names before I actually pick the pictures. This is a sooty-capped Chlorospingus. Chlorospingus, yes. Apparently there are many different type of Chlorospingus, but this is a sooty-capped one. And this is only one picture in a series of pictures that I took of this little guy. He was eating this berry and, had it fully in his mouth. And this is the one that's like probably 3 pictures in. And then I think he realized that I was taking his picture and he kind of turned and looked toward me and the berry is falling. And it was just like, you just made me lose my berry. What the heck? So, but that was kind of cool. Okay, next one.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
the resplendent quetzal. This is a good picture, but it's not the picture that I wanted. I wanted him in flight. And I have to go back to Costa Rica because I didn't get a good picture of one in flight. So I'll probably go again in a couple years because I'm determined to get one in flight. And the female is pretty, but he has the tail. And he'll do this whole little swaying of the tail. Even when he was sitting there, he was just doing this little thing with his tail. It was very cute. Okay, go to the next one. Now I know that everybody's taking pictures of acorn woodpeckers, but these guys were just hysterical. There was actually 4 of them on this branch. But I thought that this was really kind of cool because they were all 4 lined up and they were all looking the same way. And then the top one turned around and the other one turned in the middle and the other, so it looks like they're having a discussion, so I just thought that was kind of a cute pose. Okay, go to the next one. This is a collared aracari. And as you can see, yes, it's like shooting, into a barrel because they do feed them. I think a lot of the places, especially like at restaurants and things like that, they have such these open air restaurants. They would rather feed the birds on a post or something like that, so the birds don't come in and eat the food from the people. But but it also gives you a great opportunity to see so many different birds. And this one is actually at the lodge. We've stayed at a place called Silva Verde. Absolutely amazing place. So beautiful. So, but this is such a cool looking bird. So go ahead. This is another cool looking one, and it was raining again there too. This is on the Caribbean side, and it's raining. Montezuma oripendula. That was really, really cool looking. Also same at Selva Verde. Okay, go to the next one. So I think this is in the Dota region. This is a cloud forest area. Yeah, I think it's the same place that I took the pictures of the acorn woodpeckers. This is a flame-colored tanager. And John, I did get some summer tanagers too, but I only had 10 pictures. So, all right, the next one.
Oh yeah.
So one of the places we stopped, they have like these great setups for hummingbirds and things like that you could do, and they feed various type of birds. And they said, "Oh, but would anybody like to go on a little jungle walk? Because we heard that there's some owls out there." And I went, "Yeah, let's go." So this is a spectacled owl. This owl is as big as our great horned owls. It is enormous. And it was up under the canopy, and I was like shooting into the dark, but somehow this picture came out really pretty well. We saw a different type of one as well at the same little jungle walk. It was a oh gosh, what was it? A crested owl. And we just saw one, and then we just kind of looked and went, oh, there was actually two. So it was a pair, and it looked really cool. Maybe for another time I could show you that one. Okay, next one. So this is the last one. This was so pretty. This is a northern emerald toucanet. And it is so cool, so pretty, so vibrant. And that's my story.
Stunning. And sorry, I had to cut down the photos to 10.
I know. I gave him 16.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, please, but that's okay. Thanks a lot.
Next time. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Sean.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Okay, so we went to Patagonia, southern Argentina and Chile, in the second half of April. So we just got back last Friday. And it was supposed to be mainly a landscape photography trip, so I didn't bring my longest lenses. It turns out there were some bird photography opportunities as well as some mammals. So you'll see some of the pictures. Go ahead. And so we first went to Buenos Aires.
I might have removed your animal photo, Sean, because just kept it to the birds that you had sent me.
Okay. I mean, we can skip some of those.
Yeah.
It's the rosy bill Picard. So we saw that in Buenos Aires. So because the first day we got there, so we did a little bit of city walking by the bay area, and then next one we saw a parakeet, right? So yeah, so that, and then after that we flew down to southern Argentina. So. Next picture. Yeah. So the condor, of course, is one of the birds we want to see over there. And it's a huge bird with a very wide wingspan and flying. And then next picture, it shows that they actually nest on cliffs or in caves. And you can see the white paint below the nest area. Okay. Now, next picture, I'm showing a next picture. Okay. So you skip that. Yeah, this is so we were driving along and we saw this bird. It turns out it's a black-chested buzzard eagle. It's a juvenile. And so it somehow got a fish. I guess it's scavenge fish. It's a pretty big. It's like a 3 foot long fish and was eating it. Actually, we went back the next day and was still feeding on that fish. So
wow.
So it's been there for a while. And it's a brown bird, But then we saw the adult. So that should be the next picture. Um, yeah. Okay. The reason I want to show a guanaco picture is that it's a llama, it's type llama and similar related to the camel, and we saw there are a lot of those, and there's one apparently hit by a car or something, so people move it to the hillside, and then birds start feeding on that. So that's the carcass below, and then this is once again the same black-chested buzzard eagle, but these are adults. And this one is adult. It's so the color is different. It's not brown. It's uh, gray, black. So there's different animals feeding on the carcass, but we saw these birds. And next one, and I think so. We had a bunch of caracaras and also sitting around next to the carcass waiting to feed on that. I actually have a video on YouTube and then different birds feeding on that, as well as a fox and so on. And next, I think, and then we went to a lake and we saw, I believe these are Chilean flamingos flying around, but I didn't get some close-up pictures, so we're kind of far away. Again, it was a landscape trip, so I didn't bring my longest lenses, unfortunately. Do I have anything else?
Well, that was it. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to show a picture of pumas, and that was one thing we by chance saw. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Shen. And yeah, you can send the link for your YouTube to the group. They can probably see it. They can see the photos.
Okay. Yeah. I have several videos. So we saw pumas and again that carcass, and then we saw different birds feeding on the carcass. So it's kind of interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. Alice.
Hi, thank you very much for letting me speak.
Of
I
course.
traveled to India for about 22 days for a birding trip with rock jumpers, which is a very good birding group if you're interested in only birding, forget about temples or anything like that. And so I only picked 2 pictures. I have lots of pictures, but I've been very busy. So I just picked 2 for the sake of it. Could you show the first picture, please?
Of course.
Okay, so this is an absolutely, I think, delightful bird. It's called a white-crested laughing thrush, and they're often hard to see, and we just happen to see it. Excuse me. We were right near a river area. We were in Assam, which is the north, almost to Nepal, and or actually, well,
Northeast of that, yeah.
right. And we were in an area which is called Namari, and it was on the Bhoroli River in Namari National Park. And this just happened to be one of the birds that we saw. The next one, please. And this is a familiar bird to you all, but I thought it was just charming. There's something about it. You're just on a boat, you're floating down the river. I'm just a simple person. I use a Canon 70X, and this is probably, I would say was probably, 400 or 500 feet away, but I got it up. And I think it's a lovely picture. It just made me feel happy, so I thought I'd share that. I know it, and I believe that it's a juvenile in the back, but I'll leave it to you experts to tell me whether or not that is. And then the last picture I picked only because I was on the Mississippi River, which is a dead river. If you want to go birding, this is not a place to be. Although inland, you can see some birds. But for the whole trip, when I went onto day trips, Merlin would report wonderful birds and so many cardinals. And I never even saw the color in the trees. The trees were like 300-400 feet high, and you couldn't see anything. And then we're at the Botanical Gardens in New Orleans, and honestly walked around the corner and there was a cardinal. And I thought, I just have to take this picture because, we live on the West Coast. I think there are occasional cardinals in Arizona, but mostly they're on the East Coast. And it charmed me. And I thought, screw it, I'll show it to you all. So this was a very disappointing trip. I do have a couple of really good videos, but I didn't want to show a video. I didn't think it was appropriate. But this was fun and I thought you'd enjoy it. So that's it. Thank you for letting me show some
No,
pictures.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the videos, we have tried that once before. The bandwidth of most of the internet just did not work. So
Right.
they get very choppy. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a Carolina wren, and they're so often difficult to see.
Yep.
And there it was singing away. I was the only birder on this whole boat, as far as I could figure out. And we were in a bayou, and all of a sudden there it was. And I was just over the moon. There were so few birds. This was the most awful trip I've ever taken. I don't want to see plantations. And anyway, but India is fabulous, and I have hundreds of wonderful pictures, but I'm not a professional, so I just thought I'd share some. Thank you.
I think it's the best part of this group, right? We all learn from each other. So thanks for sharing. Okay, last is me. And actually, it's funny you said India because I just had a chance to go to India this year for a trip. And one of my goals was to go to the Himalayan foothills and all these places to do birds. A place called Sattal and Chopta. So some of these birds are from in that region, and then the other foothills near the state called Uttarakhand. It's actually called the Great Barbet. Beautiful song. Every morning we would listen to the song. Absolutely stunning, and got some really nice shots of this. These are the great hornbills, and it's I think it's on the red list of IUCN. It's a near threatened species. So I was really excited to get to see them, but not only see them, they were building a nest. It was really, really fortunate that I was able to spend quite a bit of time. And the story goes that the female actually goes inside the nest, and male covers up the nest, and then she stays in for at least a couple of months on the eggs and waiting for the babies to fledge. So roughly about 60 days or so. And the only opening is going to be a really tiny opening for her beak to come out. The male does all the hunting and the food gathering and then feeds the female and the chicks through that hole. So on the day that we saw it, the female had just entered the nest and they were starting to close it up. It's a really fascinating story. But just to see them, I was like, super elated actually. And huge birds, by the way. This is called the Himalayan black-lobed tit. Tiny bird, size of a oak mouse, a titmouse actually, that we see here. And fascinating colors too. So this is a Himalayan bulbul. So this was my, the target bird that like we all call to, most of us try to go to Chopta, which is a place in the Himalayas. It's about 9,000 feet at elevation, 9,000 feet. The monals reside there, especially during February, March, and I think maybe into May. As the snow starts to come down, they come down to about 9,000 feet. They probably breed there at that time. Very difficult trip. We got stuck because it's not supposed to snow those days in February, but we got snowed in. The car wouldn't move. We skid. We were absolutely not ready for this trip, but we stopped the car and started hiking in snow, and none of us were prepared for that. It was really cold, but the joy of seeing a monal, and especially seeing a monal on ice, I think just made up for the whole trip. This was super fascinating for us to see it. It was just a real thrill. Sadly, we spent almost 8 hours looking for it, right? So we spent the entire day just looking for one bird. So the guide was very upset with us because he's like, I could have shown you 50 species by now, but I had gone with a couple of photographer friends and they said, nope, we want to see a monal. And I'm glad we did. So this is the female. And you can see the camouflage, and you can see how nicely it's camouflaged because they lay eggs on the ground, and she's the one who sits on the eggs. As the male is very protective, but he does not come to the nest for incubating. Just another shot of the monal, and you can see the plumage, right? It's a really, really stunning bird. This was the other one, again, target bird number 2, I would say. It's called a co-class pheasant. Numbers are decreasing, unfortunately. Natives actually used to eat them, as sad as it sounds. But this was a food source for the locals. And of course, that's why the numbers are decreasing too. And these are very shy birds, right? So we actually did wait for quite a while to see this one as well. But I got really good looks. Plum-headed parakeets. This was in Sattal. One of my favorite photographs, and the bird itself is really stunning. It's called a red-billed Leothrix. They came to a small pond there, and I just love the symmetry in this shot. So I think that was it from my photo shoot. Okay. Well, I hope you all actually had a good time. And if you don't mind sending a quick note to me, whether Zoom and Zoom calls like this work, it'll be nice to, at least, yeah, it'll be really nice to hear, if you think this is the right format, if you have any other suggestions for next year, because we do take a break in June, July, and August, and then we come back in September. And September is going to be our next show, which will be about, bring your own photos again. So I do like to do this a couple of times in the year, and then I have speakers that I will bring in to present. I will reach out to the group again for ideas. But if you have any tips in the meantime, don't hesitate to send us a quick email.
You may want to send out a reminder
I will.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was going to send a quick email note, right, and saying, the tips, speaker lists, definitely please send me, if you have any friends or yourself, you're ready to give a talk for a full hour. Last year, I actually got a couple of people who volunteered. This is really fantastic. Like I said, one of my goals is also to encourage young birders and young bird photographers to join and show their stories. And last year we got really lucky. We actually had like more than actually 3 people who were less than 14 years old who gave us presentations. So with that, have a great summer. Come back with more photos and more stories to share.